Hi guys, and welcome to another video, and this is probably going to be my most controversial video since I started doing YouTube. And some arguably might say that I've had some controversial ones in the past, some might say that I've just been speaking the truth. And again, I'm going to try and speak what I believe is my truth, what I believe in the security dog handling world. And probably one of the most argued and one of the most discussed things in the security dog handling industry is the wages, whether the wages are any good, whether the wages are bad, whatever. And I see lots of pages that I go onto of people inquiring into the security dog handling industry and asking what it's like. And the first thing I always see is how bad the wages are. Don't do this job because the money's crap, etc., etc. And I think what happens is that a lot of people concentrate on their hourly rate, but no one ever talks about what they actually earn annually. All people always say, oh, our hourly rate's so bad, rah, 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 but people never talk about what their actual annually rate is. So in this, as I'm going to try and map out what annual rates are compared to the minimum wage on like a five shift a week kind of rota. But I've done a wage video before, and basically in that wage video is I put out a formula so that people could work out an hourly rate to the annual, to sort of an annual income. And that video got some funny looking comments. It's now, I understand it a little bit because I set it at £10. At the time that was above minimum wage, but the reason that I done it at £10 was so that people could use round numbers, so people could see it. So I was getting round numbers, and like I say, that video was more to show a formula of working hourly rate into sort of annual, rather than saying this is the definite price, this is the only price you're ever going to get a security dog handler. Like I say, I got some random comments on that, some comments that is typical to what you would see in sort of security dog handling groups on Facebook and places like that. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get you to see it from the client's point of view. So obviously I'm a security dog handler. My company obviously is employed by a client to go and look after premises, etc. And what I thought I'd do is I'll try and get you to look at it from a client's point of view. And I think that it's an important way of looking at it, because the people that we work for have not got endless budgets, and they've not got limitless money in order to pay for a security dog handler. And I think what you have to understand, that the quantity of hours overrides the pay rate that we end up getting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my best voiceover acting, and I'm going to give you some kind of little scenario. Oi, Gary, remember when we had that break-in the other day? Well, I've spoken to the insurance company, and although I've had this business for 10 years and nothing's ever gone wrong, because that bloke broke in and stole that bit of merchandise the other day, they're now saying that I've got to have security dog handlers on here when people aren't here. They've got to be here 9 nights a week, plus a Saturday day and a Sunday day. Oh, Baz, oh, that's absolutely gutting, mate. Why have we got to have that? Well, they're saying if this premises isn't protected 24/7, that my insurance premium is going to go up, and it's going to cost me an absolute fortune in insurance. So in order to keep it down, I've got to get these bloody security dog handlers in. I've got to pay for some geezer and his dog to sit on this site, earn me no money, and end up just sitting here in the car park all night, making sure no one breaks in. I'll tell you what, Baz, I'll get onto a few companies, I'll get you some quotes. Cheers, Gary. Cheers, mate. Baz, what's our budget for this? Well, it's just some geezer sitting out in the car park with his dog all night. What's that going to cost? It can't cost me no more than, what, 50, 60 grand a year? It's just one bloke. Now, although my voiceover work is never going to win me any awards, you can kind of see how that would go. So someone that's had a business for maybe like 10 years, never had any issues, whatever it is, gets broken into, some stuff gets stolen, and then the insurance company says, you know what, we need you to have a security dog team on there whilst no one's there, in order for us to pay out if anything goes wrong. And like I say, when you think of it as being one person, all they're doing is employing, to them, one person, because although it's 7 nights a week and 2 day shifts, they're only ever going to see one person. So in terms of what they see, they're just paying for one person. And when you think of like a wage, what a typical wage for that should be. Now, he might be employing people for 30,000-40,000 pound a year, but they might be earning him 70 grand a year. So he might be earning 40 to 30 grand a year off of that person. what he would see us as just an expense. We're not going to be earning him any money. All right, we might save him a bit on his insurance, but we're not going to be earning him 30, 40 grand a year. So what they look at us, they just look at us as an expense. Now, I kind of set that budget out of what I would imagine people would think that they want to spend. So it'll be, well, it can't cost me more than 50, 60 grand, can it? So for them 7 night shifts and 2 day shifts, what would the client be expecting to pay? Now, I've got something here. So what I've done is I've done sort of hourly rates. So from minimum wage as of April next year up to sort of £18 an hour. And for them 7 night shifts, 2 day shifts for a whole year, you're going to be looking for, if the handler is getting minimum wage, they're going to be earning 64,247. Now, I understand that possibly one handler is not going to do all this work, but just stay with me, because this is how they're going to see it, because they're only seeing one person. Someone earning minimum wage is going to be 64,247. £12 is 67, £13 73, so forth, to get into £18 an hour, which is 101,000. Now, companies that obviously send these handlers to go and do the work, they're not doing that for free. They're not going to be charging what they're paying their handler. So they're going to want to put a fee on top. Now, I've got three lists here, and it's going to be the handler's wage with £1 on top, the handler's wage with £2 on top, and the handler's wage with £3 on top. And as you can see, as it obviously goes up there, the company's putting £1 an hour on, £2 an hour on, £3 an hour on. You now start looking like with £1 an hour on, a handler that's costing minimum wage, we're already up at 70,000, nearly £70,000 a year. That's going to be quoted to the client. Now, I wouldn't expect a company to put £1 on, because it is worth it, but it's not worth it. So the hours, it's going to be 5,616 hours throughout the year. So if a company puts £1 on, they're earning just over £5.5 grand a year off that one job. Now, companies are not going to do that, because obviously they've got overheads, they've got stuff that they have to pay for. So they might want to put £2 on. Now, all of a sudden, a dog handler on minimum wage is now 75,000. So a handler that's on £15 an hour is now costing the client 95,000. So you can see, because of the quantity of hours, you can see why our rate goes down. But you can see, but even at the lowest rate, how the actual invoice or the actual quote is still reasonably high. Now, if you go to £3 an hour, and let's say you get the minimum wage, so you've got a dog handler on £11.44, the company is charging, what's that, £14.44. You're now a handler on minimum wage is now costing the client just over £81,000 a year. If you get a dog handler that's on £15 an hour, it's now costing over £100,000 a year. So you can see how the steady progress of a handler that's earning minimum wage all of a sudden is now costing a client like £80,000 a year. And you can see how a company needs to obviously make their money out of it, but obviously they want to try and pay the handler the best they can. Now, they obviously try and give the handler the best rate they can whilst being able to stay competitive. Because if you're let's say, go back to the £2 an hour, let's say you're saying, right, we want to put our handler on £14 an hour, but we want to put £2 on, so we're going to be charging £16 an hour. So they're now going to have to put a quote in for nearly £90,000 a year to a client who probably their budget is 50, 60, maybe 70, because they're thinking, well, it's only one man, he's not earning us any money, he's only costing us money. It's now costing them 89, nearly 90,000. Now, for a company to stay competitive, it'd be quite easy for another company to say, well, our handlers only want £12 an hour, so we're just going to put it in for £12 an hour, which is just over 78.5. Now, a client is going to look at that and go, well, I'm getting one quote for 90, I've got another quote for 78. Guess which one he's going to go for? Because the client's thinking, I just need some bloke on here for insurance purposes. So the reason that our rates are not as high is due to the quantity of hours that we actually do, and the money that we actually generate the client, which is zero. So out of them prices that I just gave you, now, like I said to you, I wouldn't expect one handler to be working all 9 shifts all week, every week, and doing it that way. I would expect that they would either get split 5 and 4 or 6 and 3. So depending on how much one handler wants to work, I would say that would depend on what the other handler gets. Now, obviously, whilst the handler that does the rest of the shifts, he'll obviously be earning his money elsewhere, somewhere else. But if you was a dog handler doing what I do, so doing 5 night shifts a week, what would you typically earn from that? So in terms of being minimum wage on that contract, if you was on minimum wage, £11.44 an hour as of April next year, you'd be earning just over £35,500 a year. If you managed to get £12 an hour, you'd be on 37, £13 an hour, 40, £14 an hour, 44, and so on and so on. So even as a minimum wage dog handler working 5 nights a week, you're still over £35,000 working on minimum wage. And that's why when people say, oh, you're only earning minimum wage as a dog handler, the rates are crap, etc., etc. Yes, but when you look at the quantity of hours that we do, and if you're not willing to do 12, 15-hour shifts, then security dog handling and security is probably not for you. If you only want to work maybe 6, 7 hours, then go and be a doorman, because they probably do work more hours than that. But if you only want to work 7, 8 hours or whatever it is, then go and get your door supervisor license and go and work on the doors. If you want to be in maybe static guard work or security dog handling work, 12 and 15 hours are the normal shifts. So you can't get into this and say, well, yeah, but I don't want to work 12, 15 hours, but I want to earn 40 grand a year. That's not how the industry works. That's not how the world works. So even as a minimum wage handler, we are on minimum wage, but we're not, because we are earning just over £35,500, even if you're on minimum wage, which is going to be the least you're on. I don't think there are many handlers that will be accepting that sort of money. They will probably be on higher. So that is like the low rate. Now, when I think of someone that's on minimum wage, what kind of wage do I think? So let me ask you, if you've got someone talking to you and they say, oh mate, look, I'm on minimum wage, I'm working so many hours, I'm working 5 days a week, I'm on minimum wage, I don't know what to do. What wage would you expect them to be on? Now, I've kind of worked it out in terms of office hours, or someone that works 8 hours a day. Now, that might not be someone that works in an office. That might be someone that works at Costa. That might be someone that works at Sainsbury's or whatever it is that does an 8-hour day on minimum wage. Now, if they're on minimum wage, they're going to be earning just over £23,500. Now, that's like 12, 13 grand down from what a minimum wage dog handler is earning due to the quantity of hours. If you £12, it's 24. Now you have to get down to £17 an hour working office hours before you start earning what the minimum wage dog handler is earning, obviously at minimum wage. So when people start saying, oh, the rates in security dog handling are crap because it's just above minimum wage and things like that. Yes, just above minimum wage in security dog handling is a really good office wage of like nearly £40,000. And what I thought I would do is I would see where what I would call a standard dog handler's week, where their wage would sit in compared to like sort of the national average, or like nationally the UK sort of income. And if you're earning £30,000, you're in the top 41% of earners within the UK. £30,000. Now the minimum wage for a dog handler working 5 days is 35. So if you're earning 30k, you're in the top 41%. If you're earning £40,000 and above, you're in the top 25% of earners within the UK. 50, top 15, and so on and so on. So even as a dog handler earning minimum wage, at let's say £35,500 a year, I would arguably say that you're in the top 30% of earners within the UK. If I want to be cautious, I'm going to say the top 35% of earners within the UK. Now, I don't see that as bad money, and I'm talking about minimum wage. And this is not a video of me trying to push for dog handlers to be on minimum wage. I don't believe dog handlers should be on minimum wage. I do agree that the job itself, a lot of parts of the job itself, you deserve to earn more. And I think that once the minimum wage goes up to £11.44 in April, I think £12.50, £13 will be a very common figure that you'll see dog handlers on. Now, if we go back to that, so let's say 13, let's say £12, £13, 37 to 40. So I think you'll start seeing more dog handlers around sort of the 38, 39, 40 mark as sort of a base rate for regular work. Now, what I would say is obviously the shorter the contracts, the higher the money, because companies will have budgets for security. And if they've got an 80 grand budget for a year, or they've got an 80 grand budget for 6 months, then the companies, because it's a shorter term contract, the rates will be a bit higher. But then once that finishes, you have to go elsewhere. If you want steady work, then you're probably going to be more on that lower rate, but have more consistent, steady work, consistent work throughout the year. So if, like I say, if you start looking at next year, you're probably going to be looking at dog handlers being on more towards the 38 to 40 grand a year mark if they put the work in. Now, if you're not willing to put 5 night shifts in a week in, then you don't deserve to be earning 38, 40 grand a year anyway. If you're only going to work part-time 3-4 nights a week, then you shouldn't be expecting a full wage. So if you look at it that way, when you turn around and say, oh, the hourly rate security dog handling is crap, or it might be crap if you're working in an office doing 8 hours a day. If you're out doing if you're doing 5 12-hour shifts a week, all of a sudden the annual income isn't that great. And that's what I always find funny, is that people always talk about hourly rate and have a go at the dog handling for hourly rate, but they never tell you what their annual income is. So they are just my thoughts on the security dog handling wages. Look, I'm not trying, this is not a video to push dog handlers to be on minimum wage, but I think it's an eye opener to have a look and say, well, yeah, these dog handlers are on £11.50 an hour, but they are earning 35, 36 grand a year. Well, that's not minimum wage, because minimum wage in an office is 23 grand. You're actually earning like another 12 grand on top. And like I say, this job is not easy work in terms of it's long shifts, it turns into long weeks, etc. But what that does give you is that does give you a decent pay packet, in my opinion. Now, there are lots of handlers out there. Let me just get my list back up. There are lots of handlers out there that say that we shouldn't be working for anything less than £15 an hour. Now, £15 an hour is £46,800. They saying that that's the minimum that we should be earning. Now, if we look at that in terms of, if we're earning 46, was it 46, nearly £47,000 a year, the cost to the customer on that is just under £100,000 for one man to be on your site and looking after it. Now, I'm not the best with money, I'm not the best with budgets, but if I was a client and I was sitting there looking at that going, hold on, we've got this one guy that comes to our site every day and he's here at the weekends, he's not earning us any money, and yet somehow I'm paying £95,000 a year for him. Why? So look, they are just my opinions, and I know I'm going to get absolutely pelters for this, and I'm fully expecting it, but I think the people that concentrate on the security dog handling wages always concentrate on what the hourly rate is rather than what the annual income is. And I don't think that security dog handling is badly paid, but I'll be interested to see what your comments are. If you've got any comments, make sure you put them in the comments section below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe down below for loads more videos. In the description is also my Patreon. If you like what I do and you like the message and you like the information that I give out, then for less than a happy meal a month, you can help support me make more videos and hopefully do bigger and better videos in the future. But as for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Cheers for watching. See you later. Bye.